Your mum won't be long, okay? 20 minutes.
No! Kirsty's needed here. Look, you can have coffee some other time. Anyway, you shouldn't be bothering her at work.
Oh, Mum.
I'm sorry, Stuart.
Look, don't worry, Stuart, your mum's right. I'm off tonight. Why don't you come round to my flat and I cook you dinner?
Stuart Nielsen was supposed to be gay. So there was a whole long-running story where Kirsty, the receptionist, the perky receptionist, had a crush on Stuart, and Stuart couldn't tell her why he couldn't go out with her. And the whole culmination of that story was supposed to be that Stuart was gay.
You sure?
Positive.
But then they said, no, you can't make Stuart gay. He's the teenage heartthrob.
About the other night.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'll say what I've got to say and then I'll go.
We'd done this whole long story where Kirsty was keen on him, he kept rejecting her, you didn't know why, and finally he was going to come out and say he was gay.
Sit down, Mum.
Why? What's going on?
Please.
What is it, son?
A lot of things have happened to me over the last couple of weeks, and it's made me realise the truth about myself. I've done a lot of thinking about this, and I've got something to tell you.
And we were told at the last minute we couldn't do it.
I'm not sure you can understand this, but...
Understand what?
And so Jason Daniel, the story editor, came up with a brilliant solution that when Stuart comes out, he says,
I want to be a priest.
A priest?
but in that discussion with Katerina Denave, we said, well, if Stuart Nielsen can't be gay, we've got to have a gay character.
Oh, good. All right, not bad.
I remember quite vividly when Jamie Forrest was revealed as being gay.
Oh, hi, here's my lift. I'll catch you later, okay? Okay, boss.
And I remember, obviously at the time, I hadn't come out and I didn't know that I was gay at that time. But I remember thinking, oh, there was a real level of intrigue and a real level of, I want this to work out for him.
It was the first male gay kiss and caused a lot of controversy.
Jamie Forrest kissing another man was less than a year into the show's run, and is quite an early example of the show putting its foot down and saying, you know, we're going to be about all of New Zealand.
It wasn't many years after the Homosexual Law Reform Act had passed, so attitudes in New Zealand to homosexuality was still conservative, I would say.
Kirsty, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do you have a problem with me being gay?
No. I just hadn't twigged, that's all. I'm just getting used to the idea.
If you were someone that was straight, then you could get excited about characters falling in love and making out and having kisses all of the time because it was all over the television. But if you were someone that was attracted to the same sex, you never got to see that on the TV. Whereas I think Shortland Street was excellent because it wanted to bring those taboos or those things that are normally hidden out into the public. You can't quantify how valuable that is for communities like the Rainbow community and all the other communities that have been represented by Shortland Street.
When you let me know how you felt last week, it really threw me. I've never been in a situation like this and I kind of panicked.
I'm sorry.
No, stop it. I realised that my reactions weren't entirely honest.
In what way?
The attraction, it's mutual.
The storyline that had the biggest impact on me was the story of Annie and Meredith getting together. That was the first time I had ever seen a lesbian couple represented on screen, much less a New Zealand lesbian couple.
What are you going to do? What I should have done in the first place.
Meredith, can we...
I was coming out while I was at school, and that had a big impact on me, but also it started a whole lot of conversations among my classmates and the people around me about queer people and their lives, and it was the beginning of a lot of conversations with my classmates, really.
Shortland Street was always committed to reflecting New Zealand society, and it was pretty hard to avoid the fact there was a lot of gay people in New Zealand, and some of them even worked on the show. So finally telling the story of Meredith and her coming out, we felt we were doing something important, and it had to culminate in a kiss.
I think in a way that it was always an intention for the show to confront conservative issues.
Nothing.
Through those stories and through the characters.
Do you want to go after him? No.
Shortland Street is still insisting, in a good way, I think, on pushing boundaries and pushing the envelope, by having trans characters, and not only that, but casting trans people in those roles.
Oh, hey, I thought you weren't going to show.
Yeah, I was talking to Nicole.
About what?
Getting your job back and mine.
You'll just piss her off more.
Yeah, I think I did. It's not fair.
And I think Shortland Street does this well. It's never just a tokenistic, let's just put a trans person in there. I think they show through how they do things, that they think about what's important for that community and what the positive message that can come from having those characters on the show.
So the origin of Blue Nathan turning up on the show was obviously, there was a lot of discussion that we were aware of around transgender issues at that time, gender identity, and we thought it was time to tackle that issue.
Oi, you gonna pay me for what you took before? Hey, get back here! Gotcha, punk!
What are you doing?
Trying to stop this little thing. Robbed me once, bad enough, twice.
Move! Come on!
But he'll get away!
Calm down, I will call security.
Whoa, far out, he's a girl.
I'm not a girl, Dick, and get you watch your damn mouth.
Kate, just leave it to security.
I leave you alone for 10 minutes and you find a way to embarrass me. Unbelievable.
Hang on a minute, you know her.
Unfortunately, this is my kid, Blue. And I'm a boy, idiot. Shut up, you. Go to the cafe now. Find out what he owes you and I'll pay you back.
Okay, thanks.
We decided that we needed to try and cast a transgender actor in the role. All of this was, new territory really, and we then started looking for trans actors, basically, to play the character. And there were a few that came through, but no one who felt quite right. And then it just so happened that my daughter had a friend, Tash Keddy, who was trans. He hadn't done any acting before, particularly, so he was certainly a very raw actor to start with, but he also had an authenticity about him that was really appealing and felt really right. And a deep understanding of, obviously, because he was going through that transitional stuff himself, the issues around it, so brought that to it as well.
Any trouble with the other kids? No. Really? Because if there was, you've got to tell me. We'll sort the little brats out. Okay.
When Blue Nathan was first introduced, I was about a week or so off of turning 18. So already a very formative part of my life. By then I was aware I was some kind of queer, but at the time I was saying lesbian. And I think I wasn't watching the episode the night that he was first introduced, but I happened to walk into the room while Mum was watching it. And I just kind of lingered and paid attention.
I can tell you a bit about me if you'd like.
Okay.
I wasn't one of those trans people who knew from the moment they were born. I didn't have the words for how I felt, who I was. When I found out people could be trans, it was like the lights going on.
For me too.
Like everything makes sense all at once.
Totally.
I don't think I had really realised that you could be trans in that way before. I had seen trans women, but for some reason it never clicked to me that it could go the other way until I actually saw a character who did.
I knew I was trans for ages before I told anyone. I was too scared what would happen.
It was really helpful to know that my mum was such a huge fan of the show and had spent so much time watching it.
They still don't get it.
They're trying. It takes a while.
When Quentin first came out as transgender, it all added up and was so much easier to understand.
Knowing that she felt positively towards that character was something that really helped with my coming out, and that I knew that at the very least she wasn't going to be entirely against it. And while she may not be an expert on the subject, I also knew it meant she wasn't entirely clueless.
Because of seeing Blue and what he'd been through with Kate,
You've never been alone. I've always understood and supported you.
it made it a lot easier to understand what Quentin was going through, and it was easier to accept and be part of because of what I'd heard and what I'd seen Blue going through, yeah.
I guess we really tried also to create a positive role model between mother and son around the issue and not have them really divided. And, you know, Kate was very protective of Blue right from the start, and yeah, I think that's something that was important for us too. It was to create a positive parenting role model around that issue.